Hello everyone, I'm Yoo-ji Hye. Glad to have you join us here in the newsroom where in the next half hour or so you get to meet our reporters and listen to what they have to say regarding some of the stories they've been covering throughout this week. Before we do that, let's go over to our Hwang Sung-hee for a quick rundown of some of the top stories that made headlines this week. Sung-hee, hello.
Hi, Ji-hye. It's been another busy week with a lot going on in both political and economic fronts. Korea's 19th National Assembly held its first session on this Thursday after a month-long delay. While the new National Assembly members have a lot on their plates, they appear to be preoccupied with a handful of scandals. Some $70 billion worth of mortgage loans in Korea will mature by the end of this year. But the government says this is not too much of a concern, as most of the debts will be extended. A truly landmark discovery in the world of physics. European scientists discover what's believed to be Higgs boson particle that could help explain how our universe is made up. Iran has renewed its threat to shut the Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil shipping channel, in retaliation for recent US and EU sanctions on Tehran. Korea and China held their second round of free trade negotiations less than 2 months after their first meeting in Beijing. This time they met on Korea's Jeju Island to discuss the scope of the FTA. The Korean government is currently investigating last week's closed-door cabinet approval of a controversial military deal with Japan to determine who was responsible. Foreign Minister Kim Sang-hwan meanwhile met with ruling and opposition parties to apologize on behalf of the government for failing to put up the pact for thorough public debate. Sejong City, a new mini capital located about 2 hours away from Seoul, welcomed its new mayor and the start of its new history. 36 government agencies, including the Prime Minister's office, are expected to make the move to the administrative hub within the next 2 years. President Lee Myung-bak's elder brother appeared before prosecutors for questioning over bribery allegations, causing a setback for his younger brother in the final stages of his presidency. Well, Ji-hye, that's all from me for now. I'll see you back up in the newsroom.
Hello guys. It's first week of July, which means that year 2012 is halfway over. It's been eventful, hasn't it?
It definitely has.
Just by looking at what we've done for the first half.
Right, Nuclear Security Summit, the April general elections, Expo, of course, in
and
Yosu.
presidential election next.
In December,
Yeah, lots coming up as well. So with that being said, let's start with you, Yeon-ji. You are out covering a very special inauguration ceremony on July 2nd. Can you tell us more about that?
That's right. The so-called second administrative city of Sejong finally had its launch on Monday.
The Korean government is rolling up its sleeves to ease overcrowding in the capital, Seoul, and achieve more balanced growth in other regions. As the nation's center for politics, economics, and education, Seoul and the surrounding Gyeonggi province are home to 47% of the national population. To reduce environmental pressure on the capital area and intense competition in the job market, the Korean government will move 36 government agencies, including the Prime Minister's office and 9 ministries, to Sejong Special Autonomous City in the next 2 years. Sejong is a newly created city carved out of parts of North and South Chungcheong provinces, 120 kilometers south of Seoul and only 10 kilometers from Daejeon. The new city on Monday launched its local government and welcomed its first mayor.
This didn't come easy. There must have been sort of a wrangling in the political arena as well, legally as well. So can you walk us through a brief history of how it came about?
That's right. I don't know if you guys know, but the idea of creating a second capital came about when President Roh, our former president, he ran for president. So that was his presidential pledge. Okay, if you elect me, I will build a new capital down in the middle of the Korean peninsula. That way, the people in Chungcheong provinces, they can have a better life, and we can achieve a balanced growth. So people at the time really liked the idea, and that really gave him the support that he needed to win the election.
And when was this?
This was 2002, 2003. The idea came about back then. But then, when President Roh became president, the Constitutional Court of Korea ruled that it was not legal for the government to push for building a second capital. It's not that easy to relocate the nation's capital to somewhere else. So because it violated the Constitution, by the ruling, the idea almost got scrapped. But then people really couldn't let it go. We really need to achieve a balanced growth. So they said, okay, how about building a new city of administration that has several functions, like multi-functions. So Sejong is not just going to be a central administration city, but it will have like a research and science hub that I just told you about, and it'll be a new center for culture. It has a lot going on there.
I mean, like you said, this is going to be a hub for many purposes. It looks great, but there must be voices of concern. Can you tell us more on how people are anxious about the travel time? I mean, for example.
Yeah, there are concerns, but just think about it. Chungcheong provinces, they are in the middle of the Korean peninsula, so it can be reached in 2 hours from anywhere. So that's what they are pushing for,
I mean, you were down there. How did it look? I mean, did it feel like...
Did it look like a city?
Exactly.
The core of the city, yes. So you got to understand, Sejong is basically made of these parts of North and South Chungcheong provinces carved out. So, these areas that we knew as Yeongi or Cheongwon, Gongju City, these parts are put together, and at the heart of the city, they are creating this new center for central administration and, serving these different purposes. So the core of the city looks really good. And surprisingly, that core of the city has 52% of a green belt area. So there are lots of lawns, and tree parks.
For
and
now.
Two river streams running through. And they're building a bicycle lane that's 350 kilometers in length. That's almost equal the size of the new roads that they are building in and around the city. So basically, you can get to the heart of the city through just, biking. Just take your bicycles and go to work. That's the idea. It's supposed to be a green city. Yes. Why don't we do that?
Sounds great. Okay. So a lot of daunting questions there, but at the same time, in front.
It's historic, like building another capital city.
Yeah, I really did feel it. When I was there.
Yeah. Hopefully, it could work out well. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Sung-hee, you were down south, not to Yeosu, but Jeju Island.
Yes,
What took
I
you
was
there?
in Jeju Island for the second negotiations of Korea-China FTA.
The second round of free trade negotiations between Korea and China is currently underway on Korea's southernmost resort island of Jeju. The talks come less than 2 months after the two countries held their first meeting in Beijing in May, where they set up the basic framework for the bilateral trade pact. This time around, Korean Deputy Minister for FTA Choi Seo-kyung and his Chinese counterpart Yoo Jian-hwa will discuss the scope of the trade deal and set up working groups on each segment. China is Korea's largest trading partner, accounting for a quarter of the country's total exports. The bilateral trade deal is expected to boost Korea's gross domestic product by over 2% in 10 years, garnering more than $27 billion in economic benefits.
That's great. So I hear that not everyone was on board with this idea of a free trade agreement with China.
Yes, it's kind of, in a way, I think it's kind of similar to the Korea-US FTA, as there is a lot of opposition towards this free trade pact between China and Korea, because apparently it will have a huge impact on Korea's agriculture sector, as once the FTA opens up the Korean market to cheap farm products from China, then Korea's the amount of production, agriculture production, will drop by, I heard, $1 billion for fruits and almost $1 million for vegetables in a 10-year period, actually. So the farmers are very concerned. There was huge rallies in Seoul and on Jeju Island. So
What did they say?
to-
Did you get to talk to some of the farmers?
I got to talk to them back in February when the government held its public hearing before they began the negotiations. The farmers actually came to the venue of the public hearing. And when I talked to them then, they were very concerned. They were crying, and they actually, they came into the public hearing area, tried to stop it, block it, but it didn't really.
What is the government doing to, relieve their concerns?
Well, they are actually proposing a list of countermeasures, but actually yesterday the agriculture minister gave a list of proposals, including increasing long-term loans for farmers from $600 million to more than $800 million. The minister said they should use this money to modernize their farming tools and techniques, but I don't know how that's really going to help the farmers protect themselves from these cheap products coming from China.
Right, agriculture and fisheries, I mean, these sectors are very sensitive to Korea. We have seen from the past, FTAs as well. But China is, notably the largest trading partner to Korea. But what's the outlook like? I mean, do you think the deal will pan out in a positive way?
Well, there is, like I said, huge opposition. So some problems to solve before the trade deal actually comes into shape. The ministry and the government says it will take at least 2 to 3 years before the free trade pact actually comes into effect. So we'll have to wait and see.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Thank you very much, Sung-hee. Well, Connie, are you here with health-related news?
Surprisingly, no. I usually do stories on health or medical stories, but this week I did a study on science and physics, something that I am very unfamiliar with. So as a reporter, of course, sometimes you're thrown with things that you're unfamiliar with, and you gotta kind of learn your story first before reporting on it.
So what was it about?
So it's the whole Higgs boson discovery. Basically, it's saying this Higgs boson can explain how stars were formed and planets were made, and basically the Higgs theory explains how particles clump together to form planets and stars and life itself. And so this Higgs boson is essentially the missing piece in explaining all of this. And then this morning I came in and I got a better understanding of the significance of this, and thousands of physicists and scientists all over the world are like clapping for joy, because for the past 40 years or so they've been trying to look into this and discover, find out the missing piece of how this, how the universe is made and how the universe works. And so it's very interesting because it's a world that I'm not familiar with, but in the meantime thousands of people are cheering for this newly found particle.
Exactly. It's not every day that we see scientists with their bottles of champagne celebrating for something.
Right.
Means something for the scientific community, but I think, like you said, it's beyond my understanding too.
And they're not sure yet. They have to do more research to confirm that it is the Higgs boson. Right now, it's just a new particle that they discovered, but they're not sure if it's the actual Higgs boson yet. So
I'm sure she'll be giving us updates once they become sure.
Yeah, it's going to take some time, I'm sure.
I mean, very fascinating, but like I said, it's very challenging for a lot of us to get a grip of that subatomic particle area. But thank you very much for sharing that with us today. Okay, thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.
Hello everyone, I'm Lee Dami. I'm a reporter at Korea Today, and this morning I'm headed off to work. So today we're going to be going to the Susa Car Depot, which is kind of like a maintenance surveillance for subways. I'm going to go ahead and go off to Arirang, so I'll see you guys later. Bye. Usually I wake up at 3:30 a.m. So it's really early in the morning. I guess I'm a little used to it now, but still I feel like a grandma because I wake up so early and I sleep really early at night. Right now, I basically come up to the office and then I print my script and I wait until we leave for the location and I just do my best to memorize the script.
두 번째 연결에서는 운전석에 같이 타서 사람들 안 탈 테니까
네네. 제가 운전할 거예요?
운전대는 안 잡고
네. We did a total of 87 episodes right now. I think 87, 88. And I remember the first episode the most that we did at Incheon International Airport.
All around Korea every single morning. And let's say hi to her. Dami, good morning.
Hello, Dami.
Hey there guys, I'm really excited to be here this morning. I was really nervous and everybody else was really nervous because we were worried that we were going to have technical difficulties. I think everyone else was really nervous too. So I remember that episode the most. So basically for the show for Korea Today, I come out twice. So beginning of the show, we're going to do it right here at the Susa Car Depot.
이거 13차 타고 나간 날 같은데?
네.
그럼 7시 5분에 타야 돼요.
네, 알겠습니다.
네, 연결했어요. 들려요.
See all the subway trains that run each day. Do you ever wonder where they go? I've wondered where they go.
아니, 지금 안쪽에 좀 들어가 있어 주시죠.
Do they just sit there on the stations?
지금 시작해 주시면 담이
No
스탠바이.
idea, but we'll find out with Dami because she has that for us. Dami, good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm reporting live at Susa Car Depot. So now that we know that everything is thoroughly checked and the subways are safe, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and ride the subway and see what it's like to sit in the front seats. So if you want to see more, stay tuned. I'll be back in just a bit. This is the first connection with the studio, and then now we have to go to the second location, which is inside the subway. So we have to hurry up and get ready. To tell you the truth, I was always really curious as to what it was like here. It's really fun. It's interesting. I'm reporting live inside the subway driver's cabin, and this is the control room of the subway.
저분들 한 번 출발하면 3시간 정도 타셔야 되세요. 한 번 타면 3시간을 달리셔야 되니까.
화장실 갈 때.
그럼 혹시 그럼 재밌게 그냥 잠깐 물어볼 수도 있는 거 같고.
맞다. 생리적인 건 어떻게 해결을 하시나요?
따로 준비하실 때 왜 똑같은 거를. 퀴즈 들어가죠. 여기 상태 들어갔어요. 스탠바이. 네, 스탠바이.
All right, well, I'm reporting live inside the control room of the subway. So what it goes on in the subway and stuff like that. Why don't we go and ask him how long he, rides the subway?
오케이, 그렇습니다.
All right, well, that's basically what goes on behind the scenes for Korea Today. And, a lot of people are actually going to work right now, but I am finished for the day, so hooray! So in the future, I will do my best to give everyone all the information that I can about Korea. All right, well, that was all of Lee Dami. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Well, last week's botched military pact between Korea and Japan, largely due to the political outcry here in Korea, caused quite a stir in the nation. And in fact, there's a special investigation as to finding out who is responsible for mishandling the process of pursuing this landmark deal. Well, to break it down for us, our Foreign Ministry correspondent Choi Yu-sun joins us to tell us more. Yu-sun, I'm sure the ministry have seen better days. What is the atmosphere there like?
Hi, Jie. Since news broke last week that the government was pushing to sign this controversial military pact with Japan without a thorough public debate, the foreign ministry here in Seoul has been at the center of great public criticism. Despite the government calling off the signing of the deal last minute and vowing to make sure that the issue will be thoroughly debated, the public criticism, the controversy surrounding the military pact will not likely die down anytime soon.
Yu-sun, can you tell us more about this deal in particular?
Well, the military agreement with Japan would allow both countries to share defense-related information, specifically involving issues related to North Korea. The government has stressed that the deal, which it shares with dozens of other countries currently, would only allow selective sharing of information between Korea and Japan. In response to strong opposition, however, the government has actually scrapped negotiations with Japan for a different military deal that would allow both countries to share military supplies during overseas peacekeeping missions.
Well, on the surface, it seems like a rational idea. I mean, Korea and Japan are regional neighbors. They're both prosperous and they share a similar democratic ideal. But why is it such a big deal here in Korea?
Well, many Koreans are still bitter about Japan's colonial rule over the Korean peninsula in the early part of the 20th century and are still opposed to sharing or signing any kind of military cooperation deal with Japan. However, here in Korea, it seems that it's more of the government's proceedings rather than the content of the agreement that's now at the center of great controversy. As we have been reporting over the past week, the South Korean government has actually is under great criticism for having passed the pact through the cabinet behind closed doors last week and failing to disclose details about it afterwards.
Well, Yu-sun, thank you very much for talking to us. Now, the other issue that has surfaced is Korea seeking a military pact with China. This time, we're going to connect to our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Han-ul to tell us more. Han-ul, how are things there in the ministry?
Hi, Ji-hye. It was a fairly quiet week here at the Defense Ministry. The only issue that may been gaining some attention here right now is the officials from the Defense Ministry have traveled to Beijing for a week from Monday to Friday to discuss an agreement between Korea and China regarding a military cooperation pact. But this has been gaining somewhat of a spotlight because of the recent controversy regarding the agreement between Korea and Japan regarding the military information sharing pact.
What is Defense Ministry's stance to the recently suspended pact between Korea and Japan?
Yeah, most Defense Ministry correspondents are still keeping a very close eye on the agreement that is discussed between Korea and Japan regarding military information sharing. But the defense officials are saying any agreement that is signed between two countries will be handled by the foreign ministry. And they're keeping their mouths shut and they're redirecting any questions regarding the military information pact back to the foreign ministry.
Han-ul, thank you very much for sharing that with us.
알아서 편집하세요. 네.
Right, it has been gaining some. 여기 다시 할게요.